and welcome back to another video. So I asked you guys at the beginning of December for questions for a Q&A for an end of year sort of video. So you guys sent in a lot of questions. So I have changed the wording of some of them slightly to make them make more sense, or not talk about myself in the third person, or if a lot of similar questions were asked, I've just generalized it into one question which will sort of answer all those similar questions. So we've got a few different categories. We've got dogs, questions about the dogs. We have a quick fire round, and then we have some personal questions to finish off with. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, hit that like button, leave us a comment, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So roll the intro one last time this year. So guys, the first category of questions we're going to get into is questions that are about the dogs. So the first one that we've got here: if Sean was sick and the sheep had to be moved, does Stacey know how, and can she work them? So what do you think?
I think they would work for me if Sean's not around, but I'm not entirely sure about what command means, what way to go, and stuff like that. I'd probably make a mess of it.
I would say it would depend on the dog. I think Storm probably would. I think Echo and Kate take a bit more experience handling them.
Yeah.
But I have co-workers here, so it wouldn't be an issue. Do the dogs get restless in quiet periods? So yes, even when we're quiet in a sense of herding, there's still work to do every day, so the dogs can still get out. They go runs. But yeah, the dogs do absolutely love the herding. So at times like this where we're quieter, they do get a bit restless.
When does it pick up again?
So the sort of farming season picks up again for the dogs during lambing, and that's probably when they get the most work as well, because we're working huge days and the dogs are doing a lot of work.
Oh, do the dogs fight or ever get jealous?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's natural in any pack that you have spots, but I'd say they're mostly just teeth and noise, and there's no actual real contact or fighting in it.
No.
It's just one getting a bit snappy with another.
Jealousy is a big thing.
I think Storm and Monty don't always get along, but they don't fight each other. They tend to know to avoid each other, but if you were to confine them in a small space together, they might fight.
Yeah.
Where am I? How do the dogs react to us leaving and coming home? I think because of where we live and being out on a farm and working on the farm that we live at, the dogs don't really have a lot of experience of that, and they don't really react too much. Echo does get wound up when we leave in the car, but they certainly don't have, I don't feel like they have that big a reaction to me coming home.
I know they do, definitely. Because Monty will whine when he sees you, and Kate will like run up and down the hall or stand at the door and squeak until you come in. Like, they don't stop until you're actually in the house. As soon as they see you coming up the driveway, that's it. It's just kind of set off. Nothing settles.
So what would happen if I said come by in the house? So if I said it in the voice that I'm speaking to you in right now, nothing, the dogs react to the tone that I give the commands in as much as the words themselves. So if I was just to say come by, they wouldn't react at all. If I was to say it like I was herding, then they would react and they would look for sheep, but it's something you don't really want to do, because we use these commands to guide the dogs to sheep that they may not be able to see. So if you start giving commands and there's no sheep there, you're basically going to lose trust in your dog and lose trust in the commands that you're given. So how do the dogs react when they're not picked for work? Again, Echo gets wound up in the mornings right now, because it used to be he would go out in the morning and then Storm in the afternoon, and that's changed. And now Echo's getting the bigger shift in the afternoon, and Storm and Kate are taking the smaller ones. And he's still kind of used to going out in the morning, so he does get wound up in the mornings when I leave. But they understand that the work will get shared as fairly as possible.
How long till dogs retire?
So it really depends on each dog. It just depends how that dog gets old, and most border collies will slow down as they get older anyway. But probably younger dogs, younger ones will retire about 8. 10 will be around where's normal, and some dogs will go on until they're 12, 13.
I reckon Kate will be one of those dogs that just kind of follow you even when she has retired.
Yeah,
she can't sit still.
I think when Kate retires, she'll still want to come to the farm, but I don't think she'll want to do as much work. She'll just want to hang out rather than actually be.
Yeah. What breed is Monty?
So Monty is a lurcher. So a lurcher is it's a crossbreed, and it's a name given to any crossbreed which is a sight hound. So that's like a greyhound, a whippet, that type of thing, bred to any other working breed. So with Monty, it's most likely a border collie, but they do also get bred to things like terriers and things like that can make a lurcher as well.
Oh, you cutting back Kate's work?
So I'm a cutting Kate back on work right now. So yes, because Kate's living in the house, she can't be out in all weathers anymore. We can't really get her too dirty, or she'll get the house dirty. And because she's not living outside, her coat won't form as properly as the dogs that are living outside, which means she is more susceptible to the cold this winter, and she can't really be out for, say, 8 hours. She would really, if it was really cold, she could only be out for a couple of hours instead now.
Do all 3 dogs work every day?
A lot of the time they
Yeah.
do, sometimes they don't. I try and split the work up as fairly as I can throughout the day. I also do use 2 dogs quite a lot. It's just that doesn't get put on TikTok as much because of the short form content. It is harder to focus on what 2 dogs are doing when they're in separate positions, and it just doesn't get the same views as a single dog does. But yeah, generally I will try and split the morning up into 2 shorter shifts, and then the afternoon into a longer shift if I'm having them out individually. How often do the dogs bark? Stacey?
A lot. A lot. A lot.
So they don't bark at work, but they bark at everything else. So
Yeah.
every person who walks a dog past the property gets barked at. Cyclists get barked at. Any vehicle that goes up the farm road will get barked at. The only time they don't bark is when they're working.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And Kate is the worst for barking.
Partly some part of the reason why she might be in the house, because she is actually the worst for it. She'll bark when she hears the other ones barking in the morning, and for a couple of weeks, maybe about a month, she had me up at about 7:30 every morning just with her barking.
Can you work more than 1 dog at a time? Absolutely, you can work as many dogs as you want at one time, as long as you're able to control that many dogs. I sometimes will go out with all 3 dogs to work, and it can be a bit chaotic, but it works in a hill situation where you've got big open spaces. But in theory, you can work as many dogs as you can control at the one time.
How many pups did Kate have? Kate had 7 pups.
And how many did Storm have?
Kate had 9. Storm had 9.
So, do I drink whiskey? And what's my favourite? So, we should say we're not a great example of Scottish people when it comes to drinking. Stacey doesn't drink at all. I drink now and again, but very little. But I do drink whiskey, and my favourite is probably Glenfiddich as a go-to whiskey. But we have got a bottle of Hague Club whiskey in the house right now.
Yeah, I don't drink. I haven't drunk in a long time.
Anyway, guys, we're going on to the farming segment about this. So these are questions which directly relate to farming. So that's what we're going to go into in a second. So I think we've only got 2 of these, and we've skipped the quick fire round because we've just answered them 2 seconds ago. But anyway, into farming, guys. So the first big one is, when does lambing start? Lambing starts in theory on the 1st of April. Generally, we will get lambs which are early or slightly short of term a couple of days before. Sheep can only go 5 days before their full term for those lambs to be viable. So generally, it'll only be a couple of days before the start of April. We'll maybe get a handful, and then on the 1st is when the lambing really starts to take off. And I would say around about the 10th, it's when we'll be at our busiest, with about 40 sheep lambing a day, which could mean up to about 60 to 80 lambs being born per day at that point. So what are sheep farmed for? So this is an interesting one. It's one that I get asked a lot, and I think it's also one that can be a loaded question sometimes. So the first thing everybody thinks of is wool, but wool basically has no value anymore. It actually costs us more to shear sheep than it does than we make off selling the wool. Shearing's done mostly for welfare reasons. Sheep are generally farmed for trying to create other breeding stock to sell on to other farmers for them to farm with. So we have 700 breeding sheep here, and what that means is we have 700 permanent sheep which stay on here to produce lambs, and then we sell the lambs. Female lambs will be sold on to other farmers for breeding, and males will generally be sold for meat. Some males will be sold for breeding, but because it's about a 50 to 100 females to one male at breeding season, the standard for male sheep is way higher. So most male sheep are going to end up as food, and that's why we farm them. So now, guys, we're going to go on and we're going to do some personal questions. So questions about me and Stacey. How did me and Stacey first meet? So Facebook.
Yeah. Sean messaged me on Facebook at like 4 in the morning. It was a Saturday night, so we'd both been out the night before. So technically it was like 4 o'clock on the Sunday morning that he messaged me, and funny enough, that was on September 18th, which is also the day that we got married.
Yeah.
Many years later. No, we met on Facebook.
Yeah, and then we met up it was almost like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. On a freezing cold night.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Where would me and Stacey like to vacation? Somewhere that we've been and loved, or somewhere we want to discover? One place I'd like to take Stacey is where I have some family in the West Highlands. It's an area known as Kintire. It's on Loch Duich, which, if you've ever seen photos of Scotland, you've probably seen this one. I'll put it up on the screen, of Ellendon Castle. So Ellendon Castle sits in the middle of 3 sea lochs, and Loch Duich is one of those, and it's just a stunning area. And outside of Scotland, something that I'd really like to do at some point is either go salmon fishing in the likes of Norway or Alaska.
I don't really know. I mean, I've always said that I'm a big history buff. I enjoy history, so obviously for Anne Frank's house and stuff like that. But anywhere else just doesn't really seem that interesting to me. I'm petrified at the thought of planes. I've never been on one. I've never had a passport. Even boats petrify me.
So where did I get my love for all animals? So when I was a kid, as long as I can remember, I've always been interested in animals. I was probably a bit of a weird kid. When kids were playing football and things, I was, chasing insects around and building arenas for slaters, and I was just always interested in animals. And I can remember as a kid, I had a big encyclopedia with all the animals of the world in it. And as I got older, I've always liked the outdoors and the natural world as well. So I guess I've always just been drawn to nature and animals since I was very young.
See, I was kind of the same. Like, I used to collect snails in the summer, and I would put them on my mum's front step, and she'd go insane. I would run around getting ladybirds, and I remember one time that I put them all in a little box, and then I left them inside my mum's living room when we went to our dad's for the weekend. And my mum said that they all got out and they were flying around the living room. I had a few dogs when I was younger, but I think that's why we ended up with so many pets, because we've both had like an interest in dogs.
Yeah, when I was younger as well, I've had a lot of pets. So I had hamsters, I've had guinea pigs, I had 2 pet rats, which were absolutely awesome pets, by the way. I had a bearded dragon when I was younger as well. We had a dog, a cat. So
I had a cat.
I grew up with a lot of animals in the house anyway.
See, the complete opposite to me. I had a rabbit. I got petrified of it after it like clawed my wrists. Its name was Slippers, which I love.
How did you get good at all this YouTube stuff? I don't know that I am all that good right now. It was trial and error, make videos and basically be bad till you get better. We're trialing new sound stuff right now. To be honest, it is more for outside to stop all the wind noise and things, but we're setting it up that now means we can get used to it. So hopefully there's no sound problems in this video, but we'll see when it comes out.
There's bark in there.
Yep, it's because there's a tractor.
Yeah.
So when I started this journey, did I imagine it would have such a big impact on so many people? So if we're talking about shepherding, which I started when I was around 22, no, because I didn't know I was going to be on TikTok at all, or YouTube or anything like that. When I first joined TikTok, I would say no as well. I was quite shocked at the interest it gained and how quickly it gained interest. But I suppose it is something that people don't see all the time, is herding dogs in action, and we all love dogs and we're all interested in dogs, and it's not very often that people get to see dogs doing what they were naturally bred to do.
No.
Again, I don't think you ever really fully expect people to
enjoy what you put on the
internet.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Do we get a lot of wildlife around the house?
We get quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw a woodpecker
Yeah.
at the bird feeder, and that's quite rare. We got a lot of songbirds. There was probably about 10 deer in the field the other morning, just in front of the house. So yeah, we do get quite a bit.
There was a fox in the garden a couple of months ago. We
Yeah.
caught it on the camera, but it's never been back, which I'm actually very sad about because I love foxes. What else? There was
We
a
used
lizard. There was a lizard that I got at the back door.
Oh yeah, and well, it was a newt.
A newt. That's
A
it.
newt. And we get hedgehogs quite regular coming into the garden as well.
Pheasants.
And then in the farmland roundabout, there's obviously we have a lot of forested areas, a lot of treed areas on this farm, so there is a lot of wildlife around as well.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you love about your life and lifestyle? Personally, for me, just working with animals and things like that, being a shepherd isn't a high paid occupation, I guess. But I enjoy this sort of lifestyle. I enjoy being outside. It definitely has to be something that you have to be okay with being outside in all weathers, all year long. It's definitely not for everybody, but I enjoy being outside. I couldn't see myself being cooped up in an office or something.
No.
And I enjoy working with animals, and I also like the freedom of being in the countryside. I think you can there's more stuff to do. You can just go a walk somewhere when you feel like it.
See, I'm the complete opposite. I like that I don't get disturbed when we're in the house because even though me and Sean get on like a house on fire, we're a lot alike, but we're not at the same time. Sean's one of those people who enjoy going for a hike, and I'm just like, I would rather sit at home and, do something else. But I like living here as well because obviously it's peaceful. You don't have pretty much anything going on around you. It's nice and quiet.
Do you look to improve your position and get your own farm one day? So yes, I am an employee on this farm, and I suppose the answer to that is yes. However, like I mentioned, land in Scotland is super expensive, and uh, to buy a farm which would be sustainable and make profit, you'd have to have a lot of money behind you. So you never know. One day, maybe the YouTube will become extremely big, and we'll get there. That there are other options like renting a farm and stuff, which is probably more likely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think if you've got an interest in something, you probably do want to do it for yourself at some point and not just work for other people. But I am also quite happy where I am right now. Uh, I work for some really good people here, uh, some really experienced people as well. So uh, I guess the answer is yes, one day. One of the reasons I probably would like to get my own farm is I have a lot of interest in low impact systems, low input, low impact, which means you're sort of using breeds of sheep which don't need as much care, don't need as much chemicals. It has a better impact on the environment. The sheep themselves tend to be more hill sheep, which have less impact on the ground and the environment as well. And I also think there's a lot of ways where farming and the environment could actually work together. A lot of people don't see is people think if you just let land grow wild, that is the best way to do it. But actually, managing land means instead of if you just let it go wild, then one species of plant or one species of tree or one species of animal tends to take over and become dominant. If we manage land properly, we can provide land and so much biodiversity. By doing that, we can actually increase the amount of wildlife we can find in one area, and that's something I'd be keen to prove as well. So guys, that'll do for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it was a nice way to round off
2023?
exactly.
Yeah.
So hit that like button, leave us a comment, and thank you very much for watching, guys.
Bye.
So one place I would like to take Stacey is to where my family have, sorry, one